Well, let me help orient you a little bit with navigation first in this class. On the home page, I'll always have a link to that week's module and a brief, short list on how much time it'll take. First week, just a couple hours, 2 or 3. And the subsequent weeks, of course, we'll do a lot more because online we don't meet as a class. That's 6 hours a week. And then also there's homework. So the workload will increase, okay? And probably 6 or 8 hours a week, a mixture of reading and writing. We'll do that 1 week at a time, and I will get next week's assignments out over the next couple of days. I guess I'll be real quick and say we're going to read Shakespeare's play, The Tempest, over the next few weeks, about 2.5. And then also let you know it's one of the shorter plays. It's only a couple hours and change in the recording, and just a few thousand lines, but it's really compact with meaning and a lot of fun. So I hope you'll enjoy it. And let me get off that and then kind of move on to the next thing. You can click onto this, you'll get the week 1 module. One of the things in it that's very important is the copy of The Tempest. I think I'll put that up at the top, that we're going to use as a class. And many of you may have different copies, but I really like this one because, one, it's free, and also it's a really good edition. Let me show you a couple of things that are important. One of them is that, just to give you the background in The Tempest, you have all these people of royalty, if you will. The King of Naples, his brother. You have Prospero, the Duke of Milan, his brother, the usurping Duke of Milan, the person who stole his title from him. Ferdinand, the son to King Naples. And all of these 5 people, those are the royalty. Now, I should also add that the Miranda, Prospero's daughter, is a queen, and then all these fairy spirits have, Ariel have important roles. So, in a sense, you've got 2 classes. You've got the nobility, and then add Miranda to that, and then you have the common people, and then further down you have Caliban, the savage and the slave. And so that's how the social order is. The reason I mention that is that you're going to be writing about Act 1, Scene 1, and you're going to be writing about the social order getting turned on its head. That is, the bosun, the captain of the ship, and the mariners on the sea, they are the kings. And they are giving orders to the royalty, and the first act really opens up that conflict. The members of the royalty just don't like taking orders from quote-unquote underlings. And that is also points to Shakespeare's amazing focus and compression, because the entire play revolves around power struggles. And so in the opening scene, you not only have a storm, but you also have a power struggle, because on the sea, those land titles don't matter. And it's the captain, the bosun of the ship, who is the king. And he's telling the royalty what to do, and they don't like it. So keep in mind, that's the thematic level. All this stuff is going on at once. And then as we move into the play, I'm going to go back to our course module. Introductions are going to be pretty easy, but I want you to introduce yourselves as readers. I give a good example of, oops, I put the Tempest text right there. So it's a little bit ahead of your introductions. And I put a reading strategy right here. So finally you get to your introductions. That's 1-2. And just introduce yourselves as readers. Now let me go back to the essential supplemental material that allows you to do the rest of the work. You have to have the play right here. And let me cut over. You also have to have the recordings, which, if you look into your modules, are right below. And then now when we get into the reading strategy, what I'm doing is showing you how to get a really good grade and also how to really enjoy the play. So I want you to consider 4 readings. The first one is just play the recording. And who is the plot? Rather, what is the plot? Who is doing what? That's what you got to do. Act 1, Scene 1, real simple. It's like, to borrow from another writer, it's like opening up a Harley in a living room. It is loud. There's a storm. Everything is going crazy. And also, there's a battle because the lower class is giving orders to the upper class. Because on the sea, the mariners are the kings, and the kings take orders. So there's a real conflict that'll go through the whole play. But anyway, that's the plot. That's your first reading. The second reading, you have to unpack this 400-year-old English. And to do that, you want to read the notes. Go back and read it slowly. After you've listened to it, you kind of know what's going on. The language throws you a little bit. Go back and read it slowly and say, what does he mean by hap? What does he mean by methinks the gallows? And you go back to the line, number 10, methinks the gallows. Go back to line 10. Pardon me, I got the wrong. Methinks the gallows, referring to the old proverb. That is line 10. Be helpful here. Something happened. I am really, here you go. Methinks he hath no drowning upon him. And what that goes back to is an old saying that if somebody is destined to be hanged, they can't drown. So Gonzalo hopes the bosun is going to be hanged because that means he won't drown and that means the ship won't go down. So it's just, you have to know that, otherwise it makes no sense. Why is he talking about hanging somebody? That's just kind of a lengthy example of how you want to read the notes, go back to the text, read the notes, go back to the text. I don't know what's happening with those numbers there. It kind of drives me nuts, but there's not much I can do about that. I think what they're doing is they're going for the number of the line on the page. I didn't want that digression. Let's make believe it didn't happen. Okay, so we're going back into the reading strategy, and that's the second reading. You're going to read it slowly. You're going to look up all the words you don't know. You're going to look at references such as that line about hanging. And then the third reading, you want to read it again or listen to it with full comprehension because you know what the story is. You've looked up all those strange words and references, and now you can understand it thoroughly, because you're not glossing over stuff. And then finally, the fourth reading is when you start understanding the theme. And when you do that reading, I would recommend going through and answering these questions. This is reading number 4. Look at these great questions alongside the side of the text. Answer those questions, and then it'll start taking shape in your mind. And once you've done those steps, then you're ready for the discussions. Not the first one, because that's just introducing yourself on the reader, as a reader. Not the second one, because what you're doing there is just imagining how you would stage a shipwreck in Elizabethan theater. I linked to the text, the play, I linked to the recording, but this is really important. You need to know what tools you would have as a director in a theater 400 years ago. And how are you going to make this so it's really compelling for the audience? That's going to be tricky. And then the second discussion is where, after you've done your 4 readings, I want you to get into the meaning of the play. Answer this question: what gives the bosun the right to have such power on the sea? And provide a quote which shows him confidently using his power. And question 2, how do the aristocrats, mostly Sebastian and Antonio, take to getting orders from the bosun? Which lines show how they despise the bosun? Giving orders to his quote-unquote superiors. So those are the 2 things you're going to look for. And then you're done with week one. So what have I done in week one is I've had you introduce yourselves. I've also had you access the play, the printed copy, access the recording, listen to it a few times, read all the notes, go through that whole process, and then I've given you a couple of activities. One is you're the set designer, so I want you to imagine what it would look like, and then also a couple of written activities that bring you into the heart of the text and ask you to provide quotes. So in doing that, with this sort of low 4, slow process, moving through Act 1, Scene 1, if we use this process throughout the play, you're going to have some great notes. You'll have an honest and deep feel for the play, and I think your first essays will really flow quite well. So I hope this helps you get oriented for week one.